Every morning at dawn for the last month, I found myself standing barefoot on the worn wooden steps of my cabin, a steaming cup of tea in hand. The light stretched slowly over the endless wheat fields behind my place, casting a warm, golden glow like a painting coming to life. It used to be a quiet moment, peaceful and simple, but not anymore, because right on schedule, I heard it. That irritating, high-pitched whirring sound creeping through the stillness like an unwelcome guest. At first, it was a soft hum, barely noticeable. Then it grew louder, closer, until a tiny flying machine appeared just over the fence. A small, buzzing spy with blinking lights, like a metal hawk hunting for secrets. Its camera eye gleamed in the early light, swiveling and scanning as if it had a personal grudge against my privacy. I sighed. Not again. The drone swooped lower, its rotors slicing the cool morning air as it drifted over my land, disturbing a couple of nervous sheep that scattered in a flurry. The lens locked on me. I raised my mug in a mock salute. "Morning, you creepy little gadget." Across the property line stood my neighbor, Linda. Every neighborhood has a Linda. She was decked out in a bright pink shirt with "Don't Mess With Me" stamped across the front, patterned leggings that could blind you, and an attitude that could fill a stadium. She held a remote like a general commanding her troops, watching me through huge sunglasses that hid half her face. "Having fun spying again, Linda?" I called out. She smirked. "It's the sky, not your backyard, dear. If you're worried about being caught on camera, maybe don't do anything shady." My jaw tightened. Flying that thing over my property was over the line, but she just shrugged and said, "You don't own the sky." I took a slow sip of tea, biting my tongue, then went back inside, the door banging shut behind me. Outside, the drone circled like a persistent mosquito. My phone buzzed, a message from my brother Jake. "Linda again?" I snapped a photo of the drone hanging just outside the window and sent it back. Every single morning. I tried to be patient at first. Maybe she was testing a new toy, but the drone visits only got worse, multiplying in number and audacity. They buzzed around the barn, hovered near windows, even peeked inside the chicken coop like they were casing the place for an egg heist. I called the local sheriff, Deputy Tom, a guy I went to school with. He just shrugged. "As long as it's not crashing or landing on your property, there's not much I can do. It's a gray area." Yeah, gray as a storm cloud. Meanwhile, Linda's drone squadron swarmed my farm like mechanical wasps. I caught her live streaming in her yard, sipping boxed wine with a smirk while the drones danced overhead, trying to make her suburban plot look like some rustic paradise. It wasn't just annoying anymore. It was harassment. One afternoon, while fixing a fence near the pasture, the drone came dangerously close, spooking a herd of sheep that bolted toward the road. "Linda, help me herd these idiots," I shouted. She laughed from her yard, phone in hand. "Not my circus, not my monkeys." Later that night, I found her video online, me in my worn-out pajamas, swatting at the drone like a madman. Thousands of views, hundreds of laughing emojis. I clenched my fists. This was no longer about annoyance. It was war. Linda wasn't just a nosy neighbor. She was a full-blown nuisance who arrived 6 months ago with complaints about the noise from my farm animals. The decorations on my tractor, even tried to report my goats for being underfed, despite their vet records. I tried talking to her once about the drones. She didn't care. "If your sheep can't handle some flying toys, maybe farming isn't for you," she sneered. After that, things escalated quickly. More drones appeared. She'd stand in her yard, smug and relaxed, glass of wine in hand, orchestrating her buzzing army like some reality show villain. One morning, I counted 7 drones hovering over the fields, their cameras trained on me like vultures. I began logging every flight, time, altitude, proximity to animals, weather conditions. I was no longer just the victim. I was building a case. One day, a new drone showed up, bigger, louder, with a speaker blaring a ridiculous soundtrack as it zoomed past the barn. I nearly threw my hat in frustration. Linda didn't know it yet, but she'd picked the wrong opponent. Before trading city life for farmland, I worked for the National Aviation Authority. I knew every regulation, every loophole. I wasn't just familiar with the rules, I helped make them. So, when Linda kept pushing boundaries I began documenting everything carefully. Every illegal flight, every breach of restricted airspace, every near miss with livestock. After a week, I gathered all the evidence, printed it out, and walked over to her fence. Linda was lounging in a glittery tracksuit, scrolling through her phone. "Here," I said, holding up the folder. "Your violations." She looked unimpressed. "You're bluffing." I opened the folder and pointed to highlighted maps and screenshots. "See here? That's a no-fly zone over my barn. And here? Flying under minimum safe altitude over my animals. Harassment under federal rules." Her confident smirk faded. "I filed official reports this morning. Expect a visit." She tried to deny it, threatened to ruin me online, but I just smiled. This was far from over. Later that day, an official car pulled into her driveway. An enforcement officer stepped out with a clipboard, calm and professional. Linda panicked, filming every move, but the officer was unfazed. He explained that her drone operations were now under federal investigation. Linda argued, stalled, even tried to charm her way out. Nothing worked. I watched from my porch, sipping tea, as she paced, realizing she had lost. That night, her followers dropped by the hundreds after she posted shaky video claiming big government was out to get her. Days passed. The drones stayed grounded. The buzzing motors and flashing lights were replaced by silence. A formal letter came from the Aviation Authority, confirming fines and a temporary ban on her flying privileges. I framed the letter and hung it by my door. Linda never apologized, never spoke to me again, never flew another drone near my farm. And every morning, as I stood on my porch watching the sun rise, coffee in hand, I'd catch her peeking nervously behind her curtains. I'd raise my mug in a quiet salute. Sometimes, the best victory isn't loud or messy. It's knowing the rules and letting the law do its work. And finally, peace returned. After weeks of chaos, tension, and constant drone buzz, the calm finally settled over the farm like a long-awaited storm breaking. The silence was almost surreal. No whirring blades slicing through the morning air, no flashing red lights darting just beyond the fence. Just the soft rustle of wheat in the breeze, the low murmur of contented sheep grazing peacefully, and the distant calls of birds starting their day. Standing on my porch, cup of coffee warming my hands, I reflected on everything that happened. At first, it had felt like a small annoyance, a suburban neighbor with too much time and a toy that quickly became a nuisance. But it was more than that. It was a battle over respect, boundaries, and control. Linda had tried to push me out of my own space, turning my quiet life upside down with her relentless invasions. Yet in the end, it wasn't anger or confrontation that won the day. It was patience, knowledge, and the quiet power of the rules that govern us all. It struck me how easy it is for someone to feel powerful behind a screen or remote control, thinking they can act without consequences. But every law, every regulation exists for a reason. It's the balance that keeps order between neighbors, between people and land, between freedom and responsibility. Linda learned this the hard way. Watching her retreat, her yard growing quiet and overgrown, I realized victory wasn't just mine. It was for everyone who values peace and respect in their home. No more drone invasions. No more surveillance without consent. Just a return to the simple rhythm of life here. Sunrise, grazing animals, and the endless sky. Of course, this story isn't just about drones or a stubborn neighbor. It's a reminder that sometimes the real strength lies in standing your ground calmly and wisely, knowing your rights, and refusing to back down when someone tries to cross the line. It's about holding fast to the things that matter: privacy, peace, and the quiet dignity of one's own land. And as for Linda, well, I wouldn't say I feel sorry for her. She brought all of this on herself. But I hope she learned something about limits and respect. Because out here in the wide open country, respect isn't optional, it's essential. So every morning, as I watch the sun paint the fields golden, I raise my cup, not in anger, but in quiet triumph. Because sometimes the loudest statement is made not by the drone's buzz, but by the sound of peace returning home.